Greetings, all. Greetings. Kind of late to my sunset tonight. Day was beautiful. Mm. Tonight, you see the clouds, the sky appears to be cloudless, but it's filled with clouds. It's, as a matter of fact, covered by clouds. I'd like to continue with subject that I was dealing with a few days last week. Something I saw, I don't know, 4 days ago. Some of the, actually it was a blog by a couple of YouTubers from Kenya, and they put up. I don't know if you guys remember the Caucasian guy who was come on board. The video I told you to watch. Caucasian, European, sounds like an Englishman, I think. But he came up and said that Caucasians are being accused of stealing Africa's resources, but in reality, they're not. And these two Africans from Kenya, they put up the video by this European guy, and then they were discussing it, what they thought about it. And one of the things that they did, well, they did a few things. One of which was they ignored what the man was saying. They didn't say, well, you know what, this guy is lying because this, or this guy is factual because of this. What they went into was, at the end of his video, he says there's going to be a war between Africa and Caucasian people. Africans and Caucasian people. Which is a fact. But one of the things that these guys didn't know is that there has always been wars between Africans and the Caucasians. It's always been a war. The people that you saw, well, not even saw, but see today in Morocco, Tunisia, all across the northern Mediterranean coast of African, they came to this part of the world. They came to Africa because of war. Either they succeeded at one time or another in conquering the area, or were defeated and enslaved. The last set of people who came down were French, Spanish, Portuguese. In the war for Africa, they came across. Beginning 14, I would say, the last migration, great migration into North Africa, beginning like 1450 or so. Muslims and Arabs losing the war in Spain. Their women and children that they were Spanish people that they married into, and they brought them back. So, and they settled in North Africa. And then when the European in the 1800s, 1900s started moving across the Mediterranean, this time not in wars, but looking for resources. They too settled North Africa, and a lot of them. I mean, you can look at South Africa, Kenya, wherever the British went, wherever the French went, Algeria. Algeria was a part of France. France considered Algeria to be a part of France. And there's a story behind that too. Algeria, all the nations that Algeria had, they refused to give up. Even if France, as a matter of fact, wanted to use their colonies as a means of supporting the EU. And they did. Even now, they still do. The uranium from Niger, whatever oil from Nigeria goes through France and into the rest of the continent. So France stays rich until now. But the average African doesn't know the story. He doesn't know, and he refuses to learn this thing. Because if he learns it, if the leaders of Africa begin to teach their people this story, the facts, there'll be an upheaval, and the leaders are going to lose what they have. This happy position where they in the middle, gaining from the poor Africans and from the rich colonizer. And they teach the African people that we want to stay quiet. The money is important to us. If you go anywhere in Africa, it's about money. We in the West always try to look at African culture. But the African himself is like, give me the money. And you can just look at how he will leave his country, great land that he's living on, refuse to plant something that will grow, will not dig a well to pull the water out to water his land, but will leave and go to Italy and Spain and France to work on a plantation at slave labor wages, just because of that euro. That piece of paper called a euro. He would enslave himself. His parents will sell him. They will sell the land that they live on and pay someone to take him to whatever place he wants to go into bondage, to send them some money. These two Kenyan, African guys from Kenya, they don't want to look at the reality of life. I mean, it is the reality is that what the man said is correct. It's the leadership. The British are no longer sending an army into Africa, forcing the Africans to dig the resources or whatever resources they take, put it on a ship and take it away. The leaders like Akufo-Addo in Ghana, I listened to several of his speeches. He says, we want the EU to come and invest in Africa, in Ghana. Code words. Invest doesn't mean that they're coming to build something in Ghana. They're coming to buy some land in Ghana. His rich friends are going to get some money. The resources of Ghana get taken out of the country. And if it's cocoa, the poor farmers that work so hard on the land is hardly getting enough to. If it is cocoa, the poor cocoa farmers in the village are not getting anything from it. Not a living wage. So the children from that village have to leave Ghana and go somewhere else to make a living. The gold that comes out of the ground, the traditional rulers and the modern rulers take all the money. Doesn't help the village any. No schools are built, healthcare facilities, nothing. Same thing happens in Kenya. But they don't want to deal with the subject of whether this guy is correct in what he says or not. They go off into like colonialism and how we don't want to fight, but if we got to secure our resources. If the war comes because we are taking back our resources, not taking back any resources. You don't even know what happens to them. You don't know where it goes, what money you get for it. You ask you who is buying the resources in Kenya. Name 3 of the big companies that buy resources in Kenya. Name 3 of the people who own 3 countries that own land in Kenya. This has got to change. Education. I don't mean ABCs. Is a necessity. Africans gotta get, you have to, there's some things you have to put your own self through And you have to educate yourself about these matters. Because you already know that your government is not going to do it. 60 years, your father, grandfather, great grandfather, and now you went through the same thing. You have to stop this. And you, if your government is not going to teach you, you know that. So you have to educate yourself. And then you have to replace these people. All the traditional, so-called traditional rulers who said that they own the land because their family owned it. Their families were the chiefs and all. These people have to replace them. Anyway, that's why the people, the diasporans, that's why they were sold off the land. That's why you see today all the young men from Africa are heading to Europe, because these people have to maintain the status quo. The Caucasian man knew what he's talking about. He knew it, but you don't know it. I hope that the education of Africans begins soon. And it's becoming a necessity. Like I said before, diasporans have to bring a skill back to Africa and start teaching Africans. Not just your money that you retired and have come and live in Africa, your skill. All right, have a great day wherever you are. Peace.